Wait, I need to turn.
You're all set now.
Okay. Good evening.
Evening.
So we're picking up where we left off. This is the Mayoral Ad Hoc Committee on Equity and Diversity. We are going to call this meeting to order, 5:31. Again, good evening, everyone. We got through our recommendations and we have a draft. Is that correct? Hey there. Hey, Dane. Is that correct? And everybody got an opportunity to take a look at it, got the final, and here we are. So this is the phase where we're doing final discussion, if necessary. And then we're gonna open up to public comment. And then what? And then we're voting to say, yes, let's push these through.
Yes, that would be the staff's recommendation that you would essentially, if the committee can agree on the entire slate of recommendations that's in the draft, then it would just be taking up one motion to adopt the recommendations and forward those along to the city council for consideration. What the next steps, just to be clear from the staff standpoint, what we would be doing then is preparing any impacts, on these recommendations leading up to the council presentation, so we can present these. So if there's a budgetary impact or there's some, issues around, how we would go about looking at these, we would identify those as we presented those to the council. The committee would obviously get that before, but staff is in support of these recommendations, the draft recommendations that we've seen. And are comfortable with them and able to bring them forward. But like I said, we would just be doing some work leading up to that council presentation. I also just let you know, I have tentatively scheduled a workshop place for January 26th for the Equity and Diversity Committee to present these recommendations to the City Council. So again, we can talk between now and that time, if the recommendations are adopted this evening, we can work out the logistics of that and some of that, afterwards. But I just wanted to flag that for the full committee tonight.
And then I'd just like to add, and then we should also try to identify which committee members might come before the council for the presentation. So we might be able to have some discussion around that this evening.
All right, sounds good. So that means we are, is it necessary to read through them?
We probably should, yeah.
And
Just to make sure everybody's clear on them, yeah.
Dale can put it up on a share screen like you've done before, maybe Aisha, and just it's A, B, C, and D, and maybe make sure everyone is, to the mayor's point, comfortable with it. And then if they are, it's a matter of taking the motion and action and moving it forward.
now I want to be clear too, as I'm looking through our items and I'm looking through our recommendations. Our items have letters and our recommendations have letters. I want to make sure we're clear that those don't match, right? Okay.
Yes, thank you for that. I wanted to make that clarification as well. I figured that might be some confusion. So thank you. That is absolutely accurate.
So I know I'm chair and that's all awesome, but can I not read through all of these on my own? If so, I would need to go grab my water bottle.
You're the chair. You pick who you want to help you read it.
I mean, collective responsibility and include yourselves. I will start off, but if someone can pick up where I leave off after a couple of items. That would
Aisha, why don't you pass it? I don't think we introduced ourselves tonight.
Oh, okay.
So you could just pass it and folks could introduce themselves before they read.
Perfect. Thank you, Noel. You do this. So I'm Aisha Hall, been the committee chair, co-chairing with the mayor. And I'm going through the items, correct? We're doing the items as well as our recommendations. So the committee recommendations, I'm at number 2. So the committee will continue discussion and develop recommendations for items A through F. I'll be reading A and B. A, policies and procedures of the Lewiston Police Department involving the use of force and restraint in its interactions with the public, and make recommendations on policy, practice, and procedural changes to ensure fair, equal, and appropriate treatment of all. B, the process by which citizen complaints against police officers and other city employees are investigated, and if necessary, recommend improvements to this process to ensure that such complaints are addressed thoroughly, objectively, fairly, and in a timely manner. And I'll pass that over to our mayor.
Okay, thank you. My name is Mark Karen. I'm the mayor of Lewiston, and I'll read C and D and then pass it on. So the committee will continue discussions and develop recommendations. C is the type and nature of training provided to municipal employees, including police officers, in regard to such areas as bias, equity of treatment, and crisis management de-escalation, and to identify employees or employee groups that should receive training and what that training should consist of. D is the recruiting and hiring practices of the city with a special emphasis on the police department, and develop recommendations that would assist the city in better reflecting the demographic composition of the community, to include recommendations on improving outreach to elements of the community currently underrepresented in the city workforce. And I'll pass it on to Noel.
Good evening. I'm Noel Chaddick. I am the Vice President of Equity and Inclusion at Bates College, and I am continuing in the committee will continue to discussion section E and F. E is develop and present to the City Council a plan for a permanent standing committee to continue and advance the work of this ad hoc committee. And F is to make such other recommendations the committee finds appropriate to fulfill its purpose. And I will pass this on to Safia.
And that we're going to be moving over to the draft recommendation at this point.
Mayor, would you like that on the screen?
Yes, that would be good. Thank you.
So, hi everyone. Before I move on, do you want me to read A?
Probably that we'll start right at the paragraph at the top. You okay with that, Aisha?
Yep, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Safia Khalid. I am the counselor from Ward 1. So let me just move the rest of you to this side so I can see the entire screen. So the Memorial Ad Hoc Committee on Equity and Diversity, established for the purpose of advising and making recommendations to the City Council on steps to ensure the city treats all residents and visitors equally, and that the city's workforce represents the diversity of our community. The committee will make recommendations to the municipal officials and key staff on policy, practice, procedural changes to ensure that fair and equitable treatment is provided to all. I can continue for A and B if you want. Should I, or should I get someone else to do it?
I say pass it along so everyone gets an opportunity to feel these recommendations. How about that?
I will pass it on to Councilor Jelinas.
Okay, recommendation A, new human resources position, sub-recommendation A. The city should add a position to the human resources department focused on equity and diversity, including, but not limited to, developing a city workforce representative of the demographics of the city, advancing equitable policies, training, practices, and procedures, and ensuring that the city delivers services in an equitable and inclusive manner. Before I pass it on, I should introduce myself. I'm Stephanie Jelinas. I'm the city councilor for Ward 7. And I will pass it on to our deputy administrative assistant. Where did he go? Dale Dowdy.
My name's Dale Dowdy. I'm the deputy city administrator, and I will read B. The City Human Resources Department should monitor and issue an annual public report on diversity in the city's workforce, to also include information on staff promotions and diversity of management or supervisory positions.
And who you want to pass it to, Dale?
And I'll pass it on to Andy.
Andy Duramo, Lewiston resident, former Lewiston Police Department employee. Update the city's discrimination policy statement to be more proactive, directly naming the advancement of equity and inclusion as a priority. I can't see everybody. So somebody else can just pick it up from there.
Why don't we pass it on to Councilor Jensen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Oh, come on. Oh, sorry, working. My name is Luke Jensen, City Councilor, Ward 5. Section B, increase community engagement. Subsection A. The Lewiston Police Department should increase its community engagement efforts, co-facilitating focus groups for residents in areas with high crime rates, involving the community and developing procedures for new initiatives, example body cameras, and embracing community policing throughout the department, instead of as the job of one task force. And I'll go ahead and pass it on to Dane.
Dane Morgan, Realtor in town. B, community dialogue opportunities should be established for public comment on services citywide to increase resident familiarity and comfort with city officials and create an active bridge to community involvement. And who hasn't gone yet? Marcella, I choose you.
To figure out where my mute was, I wasn't on my own screen. So I'm Marcella Paris. I'm the Library Director, City of Lewiston, and I will read C. So develop and co-facilitate a series of informal community conversations on police interaction with BIPOC communities, focusing on topics related to bias, race, racism, and community policing.
Hawa,
yeah, that's right.
You're D, right? I'm D, okay. Hi, Hawa Abdel, Lewiston Public Schools. I'll read D. The city should develop and sustain a diverse focus group that could review key publication and promotions for culturally sensitive and bias. I'll pass along to Aisha.
Oh, Chief O'Malley, would you like to start us off with C, and then I'll pick up where you stop.
Improve services for vulnerable populations. Let's see, I gotta move you, I can't see it. The Lewiston Police Department should establish policies and procedures that consider the specific and unique circumstances when working with members of vulnerable populations within the community, but not limited to LGBTQ community, children impacted by an arrest in the family, and those struggling with mental illness and or substance misuse.
B, more comprehensive demographic and outcome data on force, restraint, and interactions with the public should be collected and analyzed in order to proactively identify, prevent, and eliminate instances of bias-based profiling. And I'll do C as well. The city should contract with on-call, in-person translators/interpreters who could be available for residents conducting city business at time of need. And I'll pass along to Mayor. Let's go around robin.
Okay. And I'll read D and E. The city should gather input from transgender and gender non-binary citizens to ensure their experiences are taken into consideration when reviewing and updating policy and procedures. And then E is establish a plan to update demographic labels to include a wider scope of diversity in our community. And the final paragraph, I'll pass it off to Councilor Khalid.
That's a really long paragraph.
It is, yeah. That's why I chose it, because you're so well spoken.
Okay, bear with me, everyone. D, consider continuing and advancing this work through the city's Spirit Council. The City Spirit Council is a collaboration of city officials and community members committed to building awareness, leadership, and solutions to community concerns regarding social justice and equity from throughout the Lewiston and Auburn communities. Most recently, the City Spirit Council has been engaged in the development of a dual city equity statement in an order to provide a common foundation and a commitment to the healing of inequality and provide space and opportunity for truly equitable approaches for all community members to flourish. Future work as an extension of the Memorial Ad Hoc Committee would be rooted within the City Spirit Council as both a mechanism to help realize the goals detailed in the statement, as well as to aid in the development of an overarching equity implementation plan for the city of Lewiston. City Spirit would aid in the development of vision, approach, and analysis of city systems, goals, and necessities while maintaining and prioritizing community integration and involvement throughout all aspects of equity development. That's all.
Thank you, everyone, for participating. And as the SEL coordinator, I want to say, how does that feel to you all? But I also want to make sure that we're being respectful of the time and that we put into this and the thoughtfulness that we put into this. And if we have any comments, if we've left anything out, I want to open the space for that conversation to happen. But also, if you want to add how you feel about this, that's appropriate as well. It matters. And I can start off. When I read through them, the words that came to mind for me is boundaries and direction. And for that final D, that consider continuing and advancing this work through the City Spirit Council, I feel strongly about making sure we also include a way for us to come back together to present or discuss what's happened, just to be able to reflect on how that worked out with our City Spirit Council. Did that work do what we wanted it to do or what we recommended it to do at some point? I hope that makes sense. It's been a long day, but just a way to come back and see if this was helpful and if this was useful and if we should scrap it and start again, or if City Spirit keeps going strong.
I guess I'll chime in. So when I read through this, I really was thinking about our community as a whole, because I just think it's so important that we get buy-in from so many different areas within our community. And that's what I saw in this document, that from an old white guy like me to our Black and brown community, to our police officers and our leadership team here at the city. I just read this document and said I could see everybody have a buy-in into this. And I think it's really important that we do have either the spirit, or maybe the Mayor Ad Hoc Committee meets in a year to kind of review things. But I do think we have to check to make sure that it's moving in the direction that this document says. So I was really pleased with it. Thank you.
Can I add one more thing to that comment of mine? I also feel that because City Spirit started with a group of people, and there's a smaller group of people that know about our City Spirit, finding ways to expand that committee, or maybe including, I'm a parent in our community, but I can think of other folks that maybe would be a great voice on that City Spirit Council that isn't represented. So maybe some way of evaluating who's at the table, who should be there. That's it.
I'll jump in quickly and just, I think from the city standpoint, I think this is these slate of recommendations are are certainly going to make us better. I think it's been a good process. I want to certainly compliment the committee, Chief O'Malley, and the police department, and just their responsiveness through this process. I think it's just been good dialogue that's led us to this results. And in reviewing these these recommendations, and again, just kind of hearing everyone going through it again, there's confidence. I know from my standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, that we can implement these recommendations and make meaningful change and impact, I think, on the city staff and in our organization, which will have a positive impact on the community. So thank you to the committee and staff for their work on this. I think it's a really positive result. And I don't know if it's possible, but maybe if the share screen might be if we want to take that down, might be good to be able to see everyone.
Stephanie and I have had our hands up in the participants panel, which I thought was how we were getting voice. Stephanie's hand was up first.
Thank you, Noel.
Thank you. So when I read it before tonight, I found myself just going back to some of the conversations we've been having as a group since July. And it seemed like a really nice representation of those dialogues. It seemed like a great summary. The only thing that I would caution this group about is like submitting this for city council review. We take for granted because we've been talking about all this, but I would really go through and see if there's any acronyms that are in the document that we're assuming folks understand. And if they haven't been part of this dialogue, I would at least spell those out.
I wanted to say, I hope this is the right place to share this. I'm concerned about naming City Spirit Council so overtly and singularly when we have a committee member who's getting paid to lead that. I think that's a conflict of interest. And I thought maybe it would come up and I wouldn't have to be the one to mention it, but it doesn't look like it did. And that last paragraph looks even more forcefully connected to City Spirit Council than I thought it would. And I think we at least need to be transparent with the people of Lewiston to understand that we have a committee member who gets paid to lead that work. And the other piece is, no, I don't. I'm going to save that.
So I'll say, and I'm not sure if we were supposed to convey that beforehand, that Dennis met as a representative of the city with Tanya, myself, Hawa, and Laura was there. She's not well today. Her family's not well right now, so that's why she's not here. But I made the point to say that they're doing what work they're doing right now isn't all of the work that City Spirit Council was doing. And so I gave her that opportunity to speak to that. And Dennis, because I'm sure somebody that hired that MindBridge is on this call can explain what that is and how that's working and how they're tied to City Spirit. If we can make that clear, I think that will help.
Yes. I was actually going to ask Chief O'Malley to maybe describe the structure of City Spirit and the relationship with MindBridge. I think he's probably best to give that.
I can tell you, Noel, myself and Fatum Hussein started City Spirit back in 2018. I think that was the first time I met James. I was over at Bates College when there must have been 75 of us there. We kind of needed to get the buy-in from the city. So we had the last mayor was involved. And then obviously elections came, we had different people transitioning in. So we kind of lost a little of our headway. We were struggling with getting an equity statement started. And Fatuma actually secured some grant money that we reached out to MindBridge to help us write that equity statement. That's really her only role. I didn't know she was going to be on this committee. We were just kind of, like you said, employing her to help City Spirit write that equity statement and do trainings and whatnot with that. I don't see MindBridge continuing with that. I could be wrong. I know we have some other meetings scheduled with MindBridge for some other work, but I know many of you on this committee are also on City Spirit, and I welcome the opportunity to try to get more people involved. When we were at Bates College, that was December of 2019, when we had all those folks there. we had, young, old, different race, ethnic. We had people, nonprofits, schools. I mean, we really want to get the buy-in from both cities. And that's why the work with Mindbridge started on the equity statement. We're still having those discussions. We were supposed to have a meeting yesterday, but like Aisha said, that Laura was sick. So my hope is that we continue. That equity statement is just really the launching off of the starting point to get the city buy-in. And this is both cities. It's the cities, it's the school departments, and then the work goes forward. I mean, I feel like we were headed in that direction, and then we started doing work here. So I really like a lot of these things that have been recommended. The position over at Human Resources, I think, is a huge thing, and I'm going to vocally support that to the city council when that comes up. So I think to think that she's getting paid to lead it all is not true. We kind of reached out and wanted some help with our equity statement. And my thoughts are, once we're done with that, we're going to kind of move on and go in a different direction in what we're going to try to implement and what we're going to try to get the city. But it's very important we get the buy-in of both cities, Lewiston and
Yeah, I think that that's right. And I think my sense of it is there's a best practice around the flow of capital when you're building accountability structures. And so I think we're going to want to be mindful of that piece. So if we continue to engage Mindbridge and City Spirit Council has that engagement, we're going to want to be thoughtful about, Mayor had suggested maybe this committee comes back together and does some review, and just so that accountability structure is not connected to capital or paid labor. I think that's important.
And if I could add, Laura, she's not actually a voting member of this committee. She was invited at the suggestion of Councilor Khalid, I think, and others, just because of some of the work that she does. So I just want to share that.
Thank you. And thank you, Noel.
Yes.
It's really important that we make sure we're being clear about what we're clear about, period. Do we have any other comments about, so it's 6 o'clock, right? So if we have discussion, it sounds, I want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to speak, but it seems that we have formed our opinions about some of these things, and I hear some things we need to add, but I want to make sure we know everybody get a chance to speak, and we have the time. It's 6 o'clock. We have till 7.
Awesome. Aisha, I'll quickly, say my comments. I just want to thank the mayor for starting this committee. We definitely started a long way. Of all those, it feels like ages ago, but we definitely came a long way. Black Lives Matter movement, and all the protests that was happening in Lewiston. And I'm just so happy that the mayor, the city leadership, the chief, everyone stepped up and really participated in this group. And I am definitely really excited about that human resource position. If I can take one thing of all these months that we really contributed, it's going to be that position that I'll definitely fight for on the council side. But again, thank you all. Thank you, Chief, for doing all those presentations, and for your team, preparing that. That was a lot of work and a lot of labor. So thank you, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. And Dale and Dennis, thank you for, stepping up and really, also being very honest and authentic of what needs to change, because that's really a lot of the time. Some people don't like to, say what needs to change, but the city of Lewiston is very progressive and we're willing to change. So thank you. That's all.
Stephanie, do you still have your hand up? I went to check the hand raised and it's still up there. That's okay.
I lowered it. Thank you.
So maybe we could, Aisha, maybe start calling on people to.
Well,
that's what I would do.
There's no, now I don't want to force anyone. Everybody expresses themselves in their own way. But I do want to say this is our opportunity. A lot of the times throughout this process, we didn't have an opportunity to talk and say what we felt about the process, how that process was for us. And so I just don't want to skirt over this opportunity and just, you know, not acknowledge how important this space is.
So are we done with the committee? Like, is this our final stage or?
Well, Dale or Dennis, would you like to go through the process from this point?
Sure. Yeah, so what I would envision, or I would think the next steps again is for us to, and I don't see a ton of I guess work on this end for the staff, because I think these are good recommendations and pretty clear. But we would take a look at these and make sure, really dive into them on the staff level, ensuring that we understand the impacts, any kind of budgetary impacts. Obviously, I'm hearing very strong support for, as an example, for the human resources position. So there's budget impacts there. How does that look in terms of implementation and those kinds of things? So we will work through some of that and on our end, and then we would share that with the committee. I would envision that just going either, obviously through email, and then placing it on the OneDrive like we have before, allowing for any comments and additional feedback if there's any work like that that we need to do. And that would be done fairly quickly, I think, from the staff standpoint, and email it out. And then, like I said, at the start here, we're targeting the January 26th City Council workshop to present these. So our work would really just be, I think, through email and the OneDrive. Obviously, being sensitive, if there was some need that would arise, I think, between now and then for us to bring the committee back together, then we could do so. But I don't think, from a staff standpoint or from our process standpoint, there would be a need to bring the committee back. We would go to the January 26th, again, to the mayor's point earlier. We would look for you to identify 2 or 3, Aisha, maybe that you want to come with you, that would present, just as part of the panel to present the slate of recommendations. We get the feedback from the city council. If there's any additional need to circle back with the committee, we would do so. If there's additional work, maybe, the council may give some direction, or maybe ask some questions that maybe requires a little bit more. We would do that. And so I don't see it, to be upfront, I don't see a need at this point, I guess, for the committee to come back, but I think we would remain flexible. We'd go through the process and obviously work with you. And if that the need arise, then we would do so. In finalizing these, once it goes to the council for consideration, the council would then determine, whether or not they want to adopt those, all of them, or make, again, any suggestions back to the committee. But ultimately, once that's adopted, I've received my direction as city administrator to implement, and we go from there. And we begin working on the implementation of all of this, as we go through the process. The only other part I would add is that anything with a budget, there's 2 steps, I guess I would say. So there's the adoption of the recommendations. Anything that has a budget implication would then be carried through. So if it's supported again by the council, as an example, the human resource position is one that stands out. That would just go through the budget process. And then, so it has to be approved, the recommendations are approved, but then the actual budget would have to be approved. Then once that happens, budget is approved and the position's in the budget, then we would go about the process of our hiring and recruiting that individual. So.
Dennis, can you remind me when the budget is? Around April, you said? When?
Yeah. We March and April are busy time for the council. So you'll actually see our capital improvement plan will be presented in January, and then the actual budget begins at the start of March. End of February, March, you will start to see that. And then you go into a very aggressive budget schedule of probably 2 meetings a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, workshops, and it takes up the bulk of March and April, maybe sometimes going in the early part of May, but generally the council's able to accomplish it by the end of April.
Thank you. I'm wondering if I can propose to meet around that time again for this group so that they can come in support of the budget regarding the HR position
That's a great idea.
Or any other items.
or
that
any
come
other
across.
items.
Yeah, yeah. And I will add, I mean, I think you're gonna find that the mayor is very supportive of everything in these recommendations, but I also think, you know, city administration, the police chief just clearly said that he was gonna come and advocate for that position as well. So, although, you know, I never want to guess what the council will do, but I think I can feel confident to say that I'm pretty certain our council will be supportive of this. Again, I can't speak for him though.
I like Sophia's idea because as we look at our panel of people, that we would need that reminder because some of us are volunteering and while others get this in their, you know, on their calendar. And I want to make sure that we're all involved and included in that if we want to be. And likewise to the request of who wants to show up on January 26th I want to say if everybody on here wants to come and you have something to say, you're more than welcome, because that's the point. But I'll be there. I'm sure the mayor would be there. I hope that Sophia and Chief O'Malley will be present, but like I said, so that really is open to those who are volunteer on their own time and really given because of the passion that they have for this work. So that's open to whoever would want to be present. I don't know how that would do we give a formal invite and stuff? Let me know, Dennis.
Yep, that's, I'm actually glad you just said that, Aisha. I'll clarify a little bit. So one, it would be wonderful to have the entire committee attend the meeting. And I think what we typically see in this situation is, again, maybe just 2 or 3 presenting, full committee is there. And then once the presentation is over, generally, this is a workshop, so public comment is not required or that, but Mayor knowing, I see he's nodding, so I'm going to read him that he's definitely going to be okay with this. He usually is. When there's known folks that want to speak, he will open up the public comment, you know, following the workshop. So there will be an opportunity. I would expect an opportunity that if other committee members just in the audience would, virtual audience would be able to speak up and make their comments.
Thank you.
And I would really find, so Aisha, I'm so happy you said that. You know, in the public comment period of the workshop, I would look forward to every committee member saying something and sharing their thoughts and hopes and yeah.
But that's too, and I said that because I understand too, that we aren't all here, you know, as a city employee, and we all have things that have gone far along and we're still here. But I know we're here because this is important. So I want to just open that up. No pressure. We've all done above and beyond what we've expected, but open that door to whoever wants to continue to stand in it. So, and I think we have one attendee, and because this would be, if we don't have any more discussion, this would be public comment time.
If you want the next item on the agenda before public comment, just quickly, is public comment responses that we've or emails that we've received in between the meetings, and I'll just address that very quickly. And actually, I think you're okay on the attendees. That's actually one of our employees, I think, that's watching the meeting and making sure that we don't have any technical issues. But
thank you.
If he needs to comment, he will raise his hand, I'm sure, but I think we're okay there. But in terms of item number 3, we did receive one email, and it was from Larry Gilbert. I'm just sorry, and we shared that with the committee. It's a lengthy email. I don't think I'll read through it. I think I'll just give the subject matter, which was, it was 2 studies claim military grade weapons do not make cops or cities safer. So it was some articles and some commentary around that. But again, we did share that with the committee, and We do post on our public comment on the website, we post these emails, so it would be available afterwards as well. But again, that's the only email that we've received in between our last meeting and tonight.
Thank you. So the next, wait, we can't approve or vote on anything. Is our move on anything, or did we? Is that where we are?
Yeah, we would need a motion to do that. Yeah. Before you do that, though, I just want to share a couple of things. It's going to be real. So if this passes tonight, it's going to be really important for us to get this information out to the community as well. So I think some thoughts, we can push it on our Facebook page, but I think it's going to be important for each counselor here, especially Councilor Khalid, to really, let's get this out to the community so that they're aware that this is going to be coming to the council for action. I think the more community buy-in we can get through this process, it'll be a better thing for Lewiston, I think. So.
Meeting usually, city council meeting usually at 7 o'clock, right? Or 6?
Yeah, we're doing very well, Howard.
Yeah, workshops start at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
If that's what you're asking, yeah.
And just to be clear, the 26th is not a regular meeting night. It is only a workshop night. So it starts at 6. And so it's, we would just carry on through the whole workshop, but so there's no confusion afterwards, but.
Thank you. So let me ask, the motion is to approve the draft recommendations or to approve these recommendations to go to?
It would be to approve either way, the draft recommendations or the recommendations as presented to us. And any voting member can make that motion.
Anybody want to do the honors? This would be our second one. Go ahead, Howard.
Second,
Well, you got to make the motion, boo.
I approve.
So
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendations as presented.
And then Howard.
I second. Sorry, I was just trying to think, I've been in too many board meetings. I'm like, how do you say?
So that was Stephanie. And did we get that, Dale? I'm sorry. And we're going all in favor of that motion. Is that everyone?
Yep, I think it is. So that passed unanimous.
Was that unanimous? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just have to say, I'm so super proud of all of this. This was fantastic.
I agree.
I really enjoy everybody in here, and even though sometimes making me a little bit comfortable, but we're getting to know each other, and I really appreciate to hear everybody's perspective, and I respect that. And thank you, Chief O'Malley.
Right?
I'm still waiting on my invitation to come visit you, Chief O'Malley.
Sometimes I just think about just going across the street and just doing it.
Let's just go hang out with the chief.
We're not letting any visitors in. We got to get away from
Dang it, COVID.
COVID won't last forever.
It
Chief
won't.
O'Malley.
Yeah, and then you're in trouble, Chief.
Mm-hmm.
But we made it to the end, though. This was awesome. Like can I say thank you for just being a part of this experience for me, and thank you, Mayor, for inviting me to be a part of this experience. Because y'all know I sounded to myself like I didn't know what I was doing, but y'all just encouraged me the whole entire time, and so I really appreciate that.
I also want to thank Marcella, Dale, and Dennis, especially
Yes.
Marcella for writing the notes.
Can I make a comment, Aisha?
Of course.
I'll echo everyone's thanks to everyone involved. This has been a really cool process. To put a plug in for the mayor, if you guys like serving on this committee, there are some committee vacancies open that I'm sure he would love to see your names in the application list.
We have all sorts that just came out, so please check it out. So, if we're going to be passing out kudos here, I'll tell you, Aisha, you did an incredible job.
I feel powerful. Only
did.
because you all make me feel powerful enough to do this for this many months and this many meetings. Thank you.
And I have to acknowledge Sophia and you and the help that you gave me in identifying members of the community that could help this process. People came in with an open mind, and our staff, city staff, I'll tell you, they stepped up to the plate here, including the chief and, you know, and his leadership team. I mean, that's not an easy thing.
No.
To put yourself out there. And, you know, I was a cop for a long time. I would have been scared to death of wondering, oh my God, what's this committee going to come up with? And Andy, I thought you were a voice of reason here, and you reminded us, you know, of the training. And just every one of you, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I see Andy's hand.
I just want to thank everybody. This is very inclusive, and a lot of patience and understanding went there. And I was proud to be part of it. Brian, I've never seen you so patient. You did a lot of work in explaining and trying to understand. But thank you.
Stephanie.
I just want to say, you know, echo what everyone is saying. I think in addition to that, I want to say thank you, Chief. I feel like I learned so much from all the presentations that you did. It just really opened my eyes. So this was not only just a really cool process in terms of being, you know, just privileged to participate with a group of people so dynamic like this, but also it was an opportunity to really learn. So thank you for that education.
Any final words? You haven't heard everyone. No. Mayor, you have any final words? Oh, James, go ahead and put forward.
Aisha, you rock.
I'll take it. Take it. I will take it. I will take it. Mayor, thank you for co-chairing and asking me to co-chair and being so humble in this experience too. I don't want to forget you and Chief O'Malley. For real, when COVID is done, I'd bump into your guys. I'm like, we're that close. We need coffee. I know it's not appropriate right now, but it will be soon.
Well, I know your husbands have been over in my office, so once we get football games going, we'll have to go to another football game.
Yes, I can't wait. I really can't. And thanks for making this whole COVID Zoom thing, all of you making this feel normal. Like I said, every time I come, it feels like, oh, gee, what are we gonna do? And I always leave feeling empowered. So I really do appreciate you all. But we can love on each other as all night long. But I wanna make sure that we're respecting everyone's time too, and taking this win. We finished before 7 because we went past September 30th. So it's okay for us to say, see you next time. And I really appreciate everyone. And so can I move to adjourn this meeting? Is that my thing?
You sure can.
Okay. All right. I move to adjourn the meeting. Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Everybody seconded it.
That's right. All in favor? Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. I'll see you in the city.